Calling our City Commission meeting to order on June 14th, 2022 at 9 a.m.
Doing good, buddy.
This time we'll ask for
You looking good.
Pastor Chad Bass, pastor of Central Pentecostal Ministries, to come and lead us in our invocation and to also deliver the Pledge of Allegiance. Is Pastor Bass present? If not, Commissioner Aldridge, if you would lead us in our invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Sure. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for this day that you blessed us with, Father God, and we thank you so much for our home here in Lynn Haven, Florida, Father. I thank you, Lord God, that you're here with us every time that we meet, Father, and that you give us guidance and wisdom in the decisions that we make. I pray, Lord, and continue to lift up the citizens of this great city, that they would have happy, fulfilled lives, Lord, and that there would be joy in this city. We thank you so much for all the good things you've done for us and that you continue to do. In Jesus' name, amen. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This time we'll have our public commentary. Mr. Scray.
Thank you. There we go. Ryan Scray, I'm on Missouri Avenue. Two things that we have coming up in the community. One is through Lynn Haven Neighbors, we're doing Lynn Haven treasure hunting. I'm not sure if anybody saw that on Facebook yet, but what we're doing is from now through July 4th, we're doing various amounts of, within the community, little mini treasure hunts that are sponsored by local businesses, using gift cards and stuff like that. And then also we're gonna have a large cash prize. Jerry Wilson's Roofing donated about $1,000. So we're gonna have a $1,300 cash prize so far out in the community. So that'll all take place between June 29th and July 4th. We have various community partners, including Dunkin' Donuts, Kids Closet, Beef O'Brady's, thank you, Pat, and Crave Nutrition have all donated so far. So if you're interested in getting out and having some fun between now and July 4th, take a look at Lynn Haven Treasure Hunting on Facebook. Second thing is I'm working with David Howard to get on the schedule to use the senior center here for a candidate forum for our House and Senate representatives and senators. We're planning on doing that July 14th at 6 p.m. here at the Senior Center, and all candidates have been invited. I'm working to schedule with them all to get them in here, so that way Lynn Haven can hear from who is going to be on the ballot for Florida House Seat 6 and Senate Seat 2. So that is all. Thank you.
Thank you. Additional public commentary. Mr. Walker.
Good morning. Rich Walker, 1106 Michigan Avenue. Very short and quick. A while back, we deleted from the insurance policies and governing the word God. This was taken out as act of God out of insurance policies. You people took it out of the legislation and whatever you had. It went by very quickly. I noticed that the front of the sign here, City of Lynn Haven, is missing under God. We used to have that. I noticed the Pledge of Allegiance is under God. No matter what your beliefs are, no matter what your beliefs are, if you believe in that, you believe in that. It is notably missing in the United States right now, the word God. That is bad. I would like to see the word under God back again. I would like to see under God in the insurance policies that we have to sign, act of God, et cetera, et cetera. It is a legal term, act of God. Legal. That means somebody did it. It's according to your belief. if you want unity and you want what's going on, let's put God back into this community. Thank you very much. Have a nice day.
Thank you. Additional public commentary?
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Patricia Wood, 632 Coquina Drive in Lynn Haven, which is not part of the city. I'm part of Incorporated Bay County. I am the president of the Lynn Haven Garden Club, and my objective this morning is just to address some comments that were made at your last monthly meeting on behalf of the Garden Club. My understanding is that a Garden Club member spoke and may have made the implication that there was some unhappiness on behalf of the Garden Club with our relationship with the city. And I just want to confirm that that is not the case. The issue that was raised had to do with us being asked to relocate our meeting for 1 month. That was not an issue for us. It was very easy for us to accommodate that change, and was also very well communicated between the city and myself to make that happen. We feel, speaking on behalf of the Garden Club as a whole, that we have a great relationship with the city, and I want to make sure that that continues. So I'm here to let you know that we love you, and thank you very much for your support going forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Additional public commentary?
Jody Moore on Amherst Street. Good morning. I want to come this morning, I want to talk about Panhandle Engineering and Tetra Tech. I understand that the city has prior contracts with these companies, but the city really needs to reconsider conducting business with these two companies. And I've already explained the reasons before. Mr. Chris Forehand has been referred to as senior management at both companies, and that is a potential problem depending upon the outcome of the Anderson and Finch hearings. The case against these two defendants is either going to be dismissed very soon or it's going to go to trial. And when that happens, a whole lot of truth is going to hit the fan.
Thank you. Additional public commentary? All right. Thank you for your public commentary. This time we have the mayor's report. I want to say good to see everyone this morning. Been out of town for a couple of weeks on vacation, so good to be back. Thank you to Mayor Pro Tem and City Manager for conducting business in my stead. So certainly appreciate you all working on those matters. Just a few announcements, a couple of things to address. One, let us continue to be prayerful for our nation with all the tragedy that is happening, some natural disasters and some human caused. And so let's continue to be in prayer for our nation. Thankfully, we have not had those experiences here in our local community, so we're very grateful for that, but it does not mean that we cannot be sympathetic towards those who are grieving around our nation. And so let's be prayerful for those families. It hits pretty close to home for me as a pastor, with having members in our church who are related to some of those families in our nation that have been murdered in some instances. And so let's just continue to be prayerful. Also, this week, Pure Platinum Health and Fitness, they're at 3400A Highway 77 next to Pool Tech, is honoring Alzheimer's, and they are having the longest week with various workouts this week. And so just encourage you to go and work out at Pure Platinum Health and Fitness. Make a donation. All proceeds will be going to the Alzheimer's Association. Wear purple is sort of their theme. And so had a chance yesterday to go and be a part of their kickboxing class. I'm the kickboxing instructor this week, so that was pretty fun yesterday, and I'll be there tomorrow at 9:30 a.m. and 6:30 p.m. So if you want to come and do some kickboxing for Alzheimer's, then come check us out 9:30 tomorrow as well as 6:30 p.m. Today we have our second youth council session, and so we're real excited for them. Our city manager will be addressing our youth council today, and so I'm excited that she'll be able to spend some time with them. As I mentioned to you, the last meeting, they had a good conversation and reflection with Mayor Sharon Sheffield, and so that was very just a good conversation for them, and then we were able to dialogue about some various things. And so today, look forward to conversing with them and seeing how we can continue to move forward together with having youthful input as a city. So just continue to work together. You know, we are greater together. That was my theme for my my campaign, but I really truly believe that, and I hope we as a commission that we can continue to work together. I think we are better for our citizens as well as our city, and we're able to work together on those various issues that arise in our city. So just ask that we would continue to try to work together in solidarity and unity moving forward. And look forward to, I know it's still a few weeks away, but look forward to seeing everyone for our July 4th festivities. I know that's really exciting. It's really ramping up here. And so I know commissioners, you received an email about getting in the dunking booth. And so, you know, just encourage you to try to, I think Jamie would be great in the dunking booth. Yeah, Jamie would be great. I have to have some oversight of some of the volunteer areas, and so I won't be able to get in. So, and the line may be too long, man. They'll go to nothing else if the mayor gets in the dunking booth, right? It'll be too long. But so just, you know, let's just try to, whatever way we can, to be a part of the 4th of July festivities, and look forward to it, and the city manager and all the employees for making that happen for our city. So very excited about that as well. That's my report for today. Commissioner Aldridge.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Just a couple of things. First off, Commissioner Perno and I will have a TPO meeting tomorrow, so we'll get some updates on some of the roadways and some of the work that's been going on around the county. The other thing is, Mr. Walker, I agree with you. I think we need God more in our society now than ever. Our society is declining at a steady pace, and I think it's going to take God to turn this ship around, to be quite honest. So I appreciate your comments on that. The other thing that I'd like to say is I would just like to encourage all of our employees and our board here. You know, working in municipal government or for municipal government is not always the easiest job in the world. You get attacked a lot, you know, even if it's something that you're not responsible for. And I'm not speaking about me necessarily. I'm speaking about the entire city as a whole. Even the employees get attacked for things that they didn't necessarily do. And I just want to encourage you guys to not let the detractors hold you down. Don't let people hold you back from your full potential. You know, there's a lot of people that just aren't playing with a full deck, to be quite honest. And you know what they say about crazy people. They don't know they're crazy, right? Kind of like stupid people. They don't know they're stupid. But that I digress there. I just want to make sure that everybody understands that you're doing a good job. The city's moving forward. You can ride down the road and you can see the progress that we're making. So please don't get discouraged, guys. Keep your head up, keep your chest out. You're doing a great job. And I want to thank you guys for all the hard work that you put in every day. And then the last thing I want to say is, you know, in my business and the supply chain, I'm one of the first links in the chain before it gets down all the way to the bottom as a finished good. And I'm seeing more 10 to 12% price increases across the board. So I want to warn everybody, again, like I've done before, please get your finances in order if they're not in order. There's harder times coming. Things are going to get more expensive. Things are not going to get easier. So buckle up. And that's my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Perno.
Thank you, Mayor. Not much to report. TPO meeting tomorrow at 3:30 at the Bay County Transit. Today at 1, I'll be attending the Scale Up Nature-Based Solutions workshop at the Bay County Library. That's part of the St. Andrews Bay Estuary program. It's the first in-person nature-based solutions meeting. They tried at the beginning of the year to meet with us here, and we did it by Zoom. But it's a subgroup of the estuary program that can get projects going. The estuary program's hired a public information person, so you're going to start to see more about the St. Andrews Bay, St. Joe Bay estuary program in the coming months. I'd like to thank each of our department heads and all of our city employees and our first responders and our military, and I appreciate being a citizen of the city of Lynn Haven, and I appreciate all the people that come out to these meetings and care. I got to meet some people who really care about the rescue groups on our last agenda item today, and I've learned a lot in the last couple of days, and I fully support their efforts. I just wanted to say that. So with that, that's my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Ward?
Yep. That TPO meeting tomorrow, Pat, where is that at?
It's at the Bay County Transit, Masalina, 11th Street, Masalina Boulevard. It starts at 3:30. They have sub meetings, and then they get the actual TPO, the policy board together at 3:30, and there's a full agenda. They talk over projects. I mean, some good engineer jargon for most of it, but certain issues get accomplished when you bring it up in those meetings. You have people your county commissioners are all board members, all the mayor and the city council of Panama City is, and then there's delegates from the other cities in the county.
Okay.
So
Thanks.
myself and Commissioner Aldridge are the members for Lynn Haven, and Commissioner Griggs of Callaway, and our chair is Pam Henderson. So there's people, and there's representation from Mexico Beach as well. So it's if you haven't been to a meeting, I mean, I wouldn't, that's good. There's good stuff that gets brought up. Of course, there's far-reaching stuff that gets brought up too. You learn a lot about 2045. Yeah. They have to. The DOT has to stay way out on projects and stuff. So.
Well, I plan on attending if I can. I don't have a whole lot. 25 June, which is a Saturday, 11 o'clock at Tacos Way. I'll be there for anybody who wants to come and talk to me and discuss whatever. Everyone's invited. Other thing I wanted to touch on is I got a phone call from someone. This isn't actually directly Lynn Haven, but affects Lynn Haven residents. Out on 390 in Britain, I got a call about they were doing that construction and they moved the lane in, and people coming out trying to take a left, they were having a hard time turning because those trees were in the way. And I actually referred them to Commissioner Perno. I said, hey, he'd probably be a good one to talk to since he's on the TPO board. Maybe he's got some people you know. And I was going to call you directly, but I'm very, very careful on the whole sunshine law. I don't want anybody to have any perception that we're trying to do anything. So I said, call him and let me know if you need any more help. And of course, he called me back and said that you took care of everything. And next thing I know, I went by and I saw the trees that were all trimmed and everything.
Right,
so.
they trimmed the brush away from the trees. Actually, city manager drove out there also that morning. I brought it to her attention as well, and we were both driving in the area and so forth. So I took advantage of being out there, so I went and saw Ramona after that. I went over to the animal shelter after that.
So I appreciate that, and that's all I have.
Commissioner Tender?
Thank you, Mayor. That corner that you're speaking of, Britain and 390.
Yep.
I have a family member who was rear-ended there 11 months ago, still doesn't have his truck back. That's a bad intersection.
They really did shave back that corner, though. I drove by there yesterday, and it was because I was going to Callaway, so I saw that. So.
I've had kind of a busy week and a half or so. First of all, thank you to code enforcement and to the city manager for taking care of that one issue I called you about. A customer came in and we talked about it at length. I had somebody else call me, and they're begging for pickleball courts. Begging. Yeah. And I know nothing about it except I know they must hit something and it goes over a net that is lower than tennis court net. Now, this person's telling me that there's lines, different lines other than the tennis court as well. And what she was asking, is it a possibility that we get the kind of net that goes up and down, whatever, over at King Griffin?
They're going to do that, aren't they?
Yes.
It's going to be lined
and
up.
I told her what you had said about in the future they're going to have it over there at Bel Air, in that section. Do we know when that's going to be done?
No, we have the plans, and so now we're looking at those, but we're also looking at having maybe a court out at Sports Complex too. So they'll
Okay.
be in two places.
Okay. Well, I did my due diligence. I asked for it, and
And it will happen because it is a very requested sport, so we definitely know that.
all righty. And the other thing is, like Pat had mentioned, I spoke for a couple hours with a very nice couple, Hector and Kathy, regarding pet rescue, vaccinations, neutering, adopting, and all of that kind of thing. And we'll get more into that on the other item. And I think I'm going to save my comments when we get to the other items. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners. City Manager.
Yes. First, we'll have a warrant list update.
Good morning. Do you have any questions about the warrant list?
Hi.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you have a good vacation, I hope?
It was fine, thank you. Got
I'm
sick.
sorry for bringing a list like this. You might be able to help me on a couple of them or
Yes,
answer
ma'am.
all of them. I just didn't do it until late. I want to double check the $109,942 for public risk management. Is that our insurance?
Yes.
Okay. Just wanted to double check on that one. Baldwin Container normally is about $44,000 a year or a month, and I noticed they went up to $47,000.
That
we
I'll have to look into for you.
Okay.
I don't have that on my list here.
Okay.
Vulcan Containers.
Okay, yeah, Baldwin Containers, it went up 3,000. BGN, they're building sports complex, that
They are.
311,000?
Yes.
Sports complex.
Phase 1.
Okay, this one threw me off. For the life of me, I couldn't figure this one out. Cameron's Crossing Insurance. No, Cameron's Crossing Taxes for $2,195. What do we have to do with that? That's what the thing is on the warrant list.
I'm sorry, say it. the vendor-
Cameron's Crossing Taxes.
Chris can give you that answer, actually.
So that one is, whenever we did the stormwater assessment, there were some properties that were wrongly classified by the property appraiser, and HOA parcels are exempt from stormwater assessment as a state statute, and so they had paid their assessment, and then they had come to find out that they did not have to, so we reimbursed them for that.
And
Thank you very much.
You'll see several of those that may come through.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, the other one that I was questioning was the Circle P Enterprise. It was like $48.06 a month, and that shot way up too, and I was curious about that.
Okay.
I don't know who Circle P is. I've never heard of them.
I will research Vulcan Container and Circle P for you and email you this afternoon.
Okay.
Do you mind if I can come in on Baldwin Container? Remember, that is a commercial pickup, and that is the one that picks up all of our garbage for commercial. And so anytime commercial businesses increase, of course, that amount is going to increase as well.
Are you
So-
talking about Baldwin Container?
Mm-hmm.
They pick up all of our trash. I mean, they've got the contract, right?
Yeah, they have the contract. So anytime there are new businesses, commercial businesses, they actually have to charge to pick up those businesses. So that's where you'll see the increase going on.
Really? I pay $120 a month for my
Not
trash.
you guys, new businesses.
Oh, new business.
New businesses. Any new business that comes into town, that's where you'll see increases
Okay,
coming
so it'll
in.
stay at 47,000 now probably, since they're already at it.
That's exactly right. You'll see that fluctuate between $42,000, $47,000.
Okay. Okay, thanks. And I was just curious, this is pure curiosity, since we've been talking about FPL and utilities lately and everything. Our utilities went up to $83,094. Do you recall what they were last month or the month before?
I believe last month it was in the neighborhood of 75.
So we haven't doubled.
Oh, heavens no.
Well, I have.
Oh.
You go, "Oh, heavens no." A lot of people have. And the other one, and I think the city manager will be able to answer this one, Landscapes Incorporated went up to $37,500 for the Bayou Park maintenance.
That's for, Ty, do you want to speak to that?
Yes. That's the grant. Yeah, that's paid by the grant.
That is for the, what we do is we have an annual contract where they bill us monthly. And what they did last year, for the first year, they billed us prorated for pine straw. Well, now that we're in springtime, we asked for all the pine straw to be replaced, and that was $35,737.5, I don't recall. But what we did is they billed us all at one time, so each individual month now will not have pine straw included.
So it goes back to...
Nothing has changed. It was the same as what it was last year. They just billed it differently this year.
Okay.
So now each monthly will not have pine straw included.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Ferris. Yes, sir. Also, could you clarify how that money affects our budget? Is it coming out of our budget? How are we paying that?
Good point. As part of that contract out there, that was the Trust for Public Land was the one who awarded that contract, and it's my understanding that that is a 10-year contract for that landscape company, and that money, we have been allocated $3.5 million over a 10-year period to pay for operations and maintenance. So that's no taxpayer dollars paying for this. It's all grant funded through the BP settlement.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
And the other one, I have only two more.
That's okay.
Landscapes, just called landscapes for $11,002.
That's the monthly maintenance.
Oh, so we paid the monthly and the 30 whatever for straw. Okay.
Mr.
Just
Ferris.
clarification there. Just want to make sure we don't give the wrong information.
Yes, last year, because they had pine straw included, that was $11,000. They've sent us the first bill this year. The contract renewed May 1st. They included pine straw, so they have since been notified to revise it and reduce it to take that pine straw off. And I want to say it was in the neighborhood of $3,500. I don't recall off the top of my head, but it will be reduced, and the monthly will no longer be $11,000. It will be reduced.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. And last but not least, Panhandle Engineering for $2,750. Do we know what that was for?
I have that here, I think. Panhandle.
Is that you, Greg? I think it is.
No, that's
Here
the
comes
coming.
Greg.
That's the coming warrant. I don't have that on my list here. I'll get that back
Okay,
to you
thank
as well.
you.
Greg can give him that information, Kiki, if you want. He's standing right behind you.
Thanks.
Anything else?
No.
Thank you.
Greg?
That would have been for the Jake's Landing capacity analysis, part of our development order process for tying to the water and sewer utilities.
Thank you. That's all I have.
All right. We'll have our stormwater update.
Good morning again. Just a little monthly update to give you information on what we've done since last month. There we go. So first thing we've been working on, we've actually been working on this for about a year and a half now, is cleaning up our legal descriptions on unrecorded easements. And what that is a lot of places where you have a stormwater outfall, for example, at the end of 7th Street here that crosses under Illinois and goes out. We're just working on getting the recorded easements for all of those places. And work on that consists of getting our surveys, which is complete, writing the easement, which is complete, and now the hard part is tracking owners down and getting signatures. A lot of these owners actually do not live here, or they're a rental house or something, so that has been the trickiest part. We're about a third of the way done with getting signatures, so we will continue to work on that so that we can get our recorded easements. As you all know, mowing season is ramping up. A lot of our ditches and easements and big pond areas are being in need of mowing. So this is our RC mower. This is a before picture on the outfall on 2nd Street. This is some pictures of during the process, the guys working, and this is what it looks like afterwards. So that RC mower is a huge help to our crews. They did this in about 4 hours. It's pretty incredible what amount of work can be done with that RC mower. Finalizing the RFQ for design engineers for our approved HMGP projects. Those projects which are funded completely now are the Pine Forest Estates, West 11th Street, Acme Lane, Dundee Lane, Bradley Circle, and Wyoming Avenue. We are awaiting the paperwork on Acme Lane, and as soon as that is done, our RFQ is complete and we can advertise for design engineers for those projects. a few of the projects that you all have approved. 19th in Montana, we're still awaiting materials. 1600 block of Indiana improvements, same thing, awaiting materials. We had our pre-con last Thursday on the East 7th Street project, and as soon as we get submittals and material time frame pinned down, we will issue the notice to proceed on that. The 1500 and 1600 block of Alabama and Virginia, plans on that are probably about 50% done, looking at a few different scenarios there, and we should have a set of plans to really look at and go from here in the next couple months. And the East 10th Street survey is complete, and the design is underway for that one. And just an update on our map that we're progressing for the fiscal year, just adding on to it as we go. Any questions?
Did you guys just recently mow over Landing Landings?
Yeah, I believe they mowed that one
Yeah,
last
it looks
week.
like someone mowed it.
Yeah, we actually had mowed that area with the RC mower as a demo, and it had grown back, and so we mowed it last week with the purchased RC mower.
There was a gentleman I had turned your way a while back. It was like Florida and 13th.
Mike, could you speak in the mic, please?
I'm sorry. It was like Florida and 13th Street, and I had a gentleman.
Oh, yes.
I just wanted to
We
publicly
sent so he had two concerns. One was the inlets at Florida and 13th, and is that New York that's next, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
So we sent the vac truck out there. We got all of those clean. We actually had one inlet that had been just filled with dirt from some construction. So the vac truck was able to clean all of that out. And some good news is, not to steal Miss Vicky's thunder here, but kind of led into it, was paving 13th Street there will be done. So that will help keep that inlet clean with the new asphalt.
That will be done?
Yes, sir.
Like,
by the end of the month.
okay, sweet.
I have one more question
Yes,
for you. Behind my house on Virginia, I
Yes,
know
ma'am.
you're seeking the easement.
Right.
I already have been paid for my easement years ago, and I realize you're not asking me for it this time.
No, ma'am. So when we had our surveys done on that, the pipe at the property owner at the corner of 6th and Virginia, the pipe goes actually through their property, and then it turns into an open ditch behind your neighbor, the house in between you two. So we need the easement from those two to be able to repair that pipe and clean out that drainage there.
The gentleman that does live next door to me now, the old owners put up a new fence. What kind of footage do you need easement?
We're asking for a 20-foot easement. We actually have the signed easement from the property owner at 6th and Virginia.
Corner, yeah.
And the next house has been one of the ones hard to get a hold of.
Yeah, they work from home, by the way. So
Yeah, they
they're there.
don't like to answer the door during the day.
Yeah,
We run into that a lot.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. I was just curious, 20 foot. And my other question was, obviously you'll have to take down his fence in the back because they built it right up to the edge of the thing. How does that work for the property owner?
If the fence is on an easement, then typically it is on the property owner to remove the fence, or we will remove it, but they're responsible for putting it back up. A lot of the projects we've been working on in the Bel Air Phase 5 area and then off of Minnesota and Illinois is sending letters out to ask them to move the fences. But on this one, since there was no pre-recorded easement before, we will just try to work with them on getting an agreement to move the fence either forward or try to work around it if at all possible.
I know the lady on the corner, and Mayor Kelly came out and put that in there for the family that lived there, 2 families before her. And it's only been in there like 3 years, that pipe. And it was a ditch all the way up to, going under the road there on 6th, and they blocked all that off. Now, I flood because it's underground, and then it opens up into the creek.
Yeah, I think
So it's all stopped up.
It's been in there. There was actually a beaver dam that was built in there. But the pipe has been in there a pretty good while because it's completely rusted. I mean, I don't remember how long Mr. Kelly's been gone, but I think it's been a while. But the pipe is definitely failing through there.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Just so to let everyone know, Chris and the entire Public Works Department are doing an amazing job. Mr. Bobby Bakers is the Chief Infrastructure Director who's over both of those departments, Public Utilities and Public Works, and they are doing an outstanding work. You will actually be able to see some progress in our last rains. We've been monitoring those very closely as we have these storms that come through, and I think that the entire group is doing an amazing job, and just want to give kudos to them, continue to work. Which leads me into my next thing is sandbags are still available. Remember, we do this all year long. We just don't do it during rain season for the simple reason, if there were a storm, we don't want this mad rush to come and try to get sandbags and fill them up. So if you go on and get your sandbags before any rains come in, you have them. They don't expire. You can put them somewhere and then use them. So we encourage our residents to do that. Just bring your driver's license, and we will make sure that you have the sandbags. They're at 2 parks, Kidsaw and King Griffin, and then you can fill up the sandbags, I think, at the animal shelter. Just make sure you bring your own shovel, okay?
I'm sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to get things clarified for residents. The old sand stockpile location used to be in the back corner of the sports complex, but because of construction, we have relocated it to behind the animal shelter. That way folks won't be confused when they go look for it.
Yes. Next is the 4th of July parade. So we are working very diligently to pull that off. And remember, in the morning, we'll be at Sheffield Park from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. The parade will start on 5th Street at about 8:45 and then make its way to 77 right around 9 o'clock. It's a great parade, and we're trying to do some exciting things this year for the citizens of Lynn Haven. Couple other updates. I know we've had lots of phone calls about having an additional garbage can. It is with great happiness that we have received the garbage can. So now those folks who are needing those additional ones will be able to get those out to residents. We are also doing work on 13th Street and between Ohio Avenue and Florida Avenue, scheduled to be paved by the end of this month. The 5th Street sidewalk, that's going to be really key when we have this, the 4th of July parade, because where people would have normally driven to this parade, now it'll be very walkable. You can use those sidewalks, be safe, and come to the fireworks. When you come to the fireworks at Kensaw Park, you'll be able to walk to Kensaw Park and not use cars as much as possible. Our police do a great job of getting you out, but I think also at the same time, those sidewalks will help people that want to just walk, that live within that neighborhood. And right now we're just putting down sod and the signage. And those will be the last things that we will do. Our table talk session is scheduled for June 30th at 5:30 at the Garden Club. And we are making lots of progress on the annual report and our city newsletter. That will be something we're really trying to work to get out in July. If you saw, we took mug shots of the commissioners today as they walked in, and those will be there. And we really just want to update our citizens on what's going on. We hope that this will be another way to communicate with our citizens. Lastly, we have in our possession and implementing it, and I think Commissioner Tender, when we did our last visioning meeting, we talked about another way to really notify our citizens when things were going on. We have implemented Tyler Notify, and now it's just a matter of us putting in those last touches to see which citizens will want to receive those notifications, whether by email, by text, or by phone. I think this is going to be one of the big parts of really getting communication out to our citizens, and so please be looking for that very soon. We are also planning a visioning session. As you know, we received more than $4.3 million for the revitalization of Florida Avenue. And we really want to hear from our residents. We want to hear from our business owners. And I think the way we do that is we do a visioning meeting and having someone else run that meeting to find out the things that these citizens would want to see along Florida Avenue. And then we'll take that information, which is really key when we get ready to put that RFQ out for the architect or engineer that will be doing those plans. Hopefully, we will give them guidance on how to use what the citizens would like to see. So we're planning that for July, and I'll give you some updates on that time when it gets closer to the time. But we are planning on doing a visioning meeting for our residents, not just for the businesses and the residents that live along Florida Avenue, but any resident that would like to attend, and I'll give you more information about that very soon. And that is my report.
Thank you. City Attorney?
A few updates on the rails to trails. As you guys know, Marine Island owns that, got it from the government. The city has an easement from the Marine Island entrance all the way down to 231. And we decided to split the project from 390 to 231, and Ben's been moving forward with that. I think there's an agenda item on it today. We did hear last night from their attorney that they've finally agreed to the form of a deed for that, I call it the southern section, so basically 390 to 231. And we expect that. They actually signed a deed and sent it to us, but it had some changes in it, so we had to go back and forth a little bit. But I heard last night from their attorney that they agree to those changes, and they'll be re-executing the deed and getting that to us. With that, since we had an easement, the city had an easement for the entire stretch all the way to the entrance, and now that we're going to wind up owning the southern part, we're going to go ahead and amend the easement, and so our easement area will only cover north of 390. So that will probably come back on the agenda just so we can accept the modified easement, because obviously if we own it, we don't need an easement anymore, but we still want the easement on the northern part. So I just wanted to update you guys on that. We'll be getting those signed documents in, and then we'll bring the easement. Hopefully it'll be in time for the next agenda. And then also just to be aware, we'll have, in the next couple months, we did those 3 nuisance abatement assessment liens. If those liens are not paid, what we'll do is wind up putting them on the tax bill, so we'll be bringing back some resolutions. The deadline is September 15th. We'd like to get them done earlier than that to put those 3 liens on the tax bills for those properties, and actually we've got one more on the agenda today, so it's looking like we'll have 4 special assessments coming up this fall, so we can try to get some of that money back in the city's coffers to do more abatements, hopefully. That's it.
All right. Any questions for the city attorney? All right. Thank you. This time we move to our consent agenda, regular meeting minutes. Need a motion to approve.
Move to approve.
Second.
All right, motion by Commissioner Perno, second by Commissioner Ward. City Manager, if you'll call the vote, please.
Commissioner Perno?
Yes.
Commissioner Ward?
Yes.
Commissioner Tender?
Yes.
Commissioner Aldridge?
Yes.
Mayor Nelson?
Yes, motion passed. This time we move on to our new business, agenda item number 9, discussion and possible approval of a task order to conduct smoke testing of 31,000 feet of gravity sewer system for $42,665 to Panhandle Engineering.
Good morning. This agenda item has 2 parts. A brief PowerPoint presentation on what smoke testing is, and then the actual task order approval. Brief timeline from last year's sanitary sewer overflows. We had a warning letter at the end of all the sewer overflows. Some of our sister cities were given consent orders. So that's something to be very aware of. The department is very concerned about sewer overflows. This is our monthly plant flow. If you'll notice the spikes here during these are million gallons a day. So you can see we're averaging around 40 million gallons a month, million gallons a month, and you'll see these spikes. Those correspond with the rainfall spikes that we get. So stormwater is being introduced into the gravity sewer systems. This is an example of the notification that will go out to the public and the businesses. The P-trap right here, you can have this smoke enter businesses and homes if that P-trap is damaged or if that home has damaged plumbing under their slab. So we'll notify the public and then conduct the smoke testing along with the fire department. Our sanitary sewer overflow program starts with the smoke testing. Smoke testing is a very budget-friendly way to identify sources of stormwater getting into our collection system. This building here shows a good example of what you want to see coming out the plumbing stack, the smoke, and then the gutters here where they've plumbed their gutters into the sewer system. So all that roof is collecting rainwater and introducing that rain flow into the sewer system. Here's another example of the field test. This right here would be a broken sewer lateral. This smoke right here would be from a broken sewer cap, a clean out cap, hit by a lawnmower or something like that. It's another example. The smoke up here by the house could be from a broken pipe. That's a lot of smoke coming out of a sewer cap, so it's probably an older pipe that's broke. Our collection system is divided into grids. We're going to concentrate this smoke testing in the southeastern area. We have identified that area due to high flows hitting our lift stations. We feel pretty confident that this will impact a large area in broken sewer lines or stormwater getting into our system. Basically, the cycle is we select the collection basin, we do the notification, we do the smoke testing, we have a vendor selected for that. The results are processed, then we make the repairs or get with the building homeowner for code enforcement if they've plumbed their roof drains into the sewer system. This is a brief history of our past sewer projects. This cycle has been ongoing for a long time. This is where we identified the 1927 sewer lines that were plumbed into the stormwater drains. So all the runoff from the roads and everything was actually being collected into the sewer system. We fixed that. And a brief history of what we've done recently. This past year, we've taken first steps in this program. We've put out some public education about how to stop stormwater from entering a sewer system. We're working closely with the stormwater department to identify those broken lines that they come across when they dig ditches. This shows you how we like to see it, hitting the ground, running off, not being introduced into the city's stormwater system, sewer system. The type of pipe, the clay pipe, we have lots of clay pipe in the city. This is an example of a broken one. We have several lift stations that are under grade or at road grade. This lift station here, this is Ashley Manor, new home here. You can see the grade is quite a bit higher than the surrounding lift station. As part of this SSO elimination, these lift stations, we want to raise that up to where they're not prone to be floor drains when the stormwater floods us. This is an example of our new headworks. This is a budget item for this coming year. This will take the sewer force mains out of the gravity system at the wastewater plant and put them directly into the wastewater plant. Any questions?
Yes, if you could go back to the history slide, I think that was maybe slide 13. No, yeah, it's 13. The history.
The
history of the projects.
History of projects, okay, sorry.
Yes. And so I'm noticing here on the history, I guess 2016, Carolina Avenue was on there, and I know, I'm believing most recently, during our storm season last year, Carolina was another.
Yes.
area where we got a lot of phone calls. Do we know what's really going on there, considering it's on our historical data here?
Yes, we, as part of the state revolving fund project, we've lined some of those pipes in that area. It did not do all of Carolina. So we have another section that will be in part of this task order to look at that, to find out where those other broken pipes are. That whole area of town is the lowest part of the gravity sewer system in that area. So naturally, when all the gravity sewer pipes are consumed with water, that's the low spot, that's where it's relieved at.
Okay. Thank you. Additional questions?
I do.
Go ahead.
This is my question. What does, I know item 9 is to award a task order to Panhandle Engineering.
Correct.
For $42,000. And yet you just said you've already selected a company to do the smoke testing.
It's two parts. GCU is $27,000 and change for this, and then 15 and change goes to Panhandle for the coordination.
Okay, and what does Panhandle do for that $15,000?
They'll identify the sewer maps, do the locations. They'll work closely with the vendor to notify the public and to make sure they're working in the right zones. If you think of that gravity sewer map, that collection basin, there's a lot that comes in there. So in order to smoke test it, you have to put plugs in the gravity sewer main to isolate areas, and you basically put a fan and you pump smoke into that system. Okay?
Right. No, I understand that concept.
Okay.
I'm upset about the Panhandle Engineering part. I feel like we pay these people thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars, and I don't see Chris Forehand. I don't see anybody out there with a smoke tester. I don't see anybody. I think what
their
they do
field
is
people will be
shuffle paper.
involved in this. That one photo I showed you, the guy with the whiteboard, and he's writing date, time, all that information. They help collect all the data from those broken pipes, from the clean out, from the business that might have their roof drains plumbed in.
So they actually go out and work.
Yes, they have field guys that'll actually be out working.
And let me say, commissioners, let's be mindful and careful about targeting our contract businesses in our comments. I know earlier a comment was made about us being mindful of our association with Panhandle Engineering. We also need to be mindful, if we're going to go down that road, we still work with Phoenix Construction.
Well,
so,
we actually...
Wait.
Go ahead and finish, but then I have something to say regarding Phoenix Construction.
What I'm saying is that Phoenix Construction is under indictment, or someone associated with them is, not with Panhandle Engineering. So I understand we might have our personal issues, whatever they may be with individuals, but let's be mindful when we come to the city that we don't bring those personal concerns. And that's for all of us as it relates to conducting the business of the city, that we don't target out particular groups, because we're still working with groups that are under indictment, that are waiting verdicts from the judge, and there are some groups that are not. So let's be mindful of that.
Okay. And now may I speak? About 3 years ago, the past commission came in, and Commissioner Russell, who was Mayor Pro Temp at the time, decided to say, we're not going to pay Phoenix Engineering, or Phoenix Engineering, there's a Phoenix Construction, their money, millions and millions of dollars that we owed them. And they tried to push that through. He had not been indicted or anything at that point either. But my point is this, I do have an issue. Chris and I know this. I mean, it's not a secret to him. The issues I have is that if you, and it's open to the public, you can read the testimony. Michael White and Chris Forehand had conversation. They were in cahoots together. I asked for public request. I've seen the bidding documents for Tetra Tech, and we'll talk about that when we get to that one. But he may not be indicted yet, but anybody who pleads the fifth to protect themselves might as well just stand up and say, I'm guilty, so I'm not talking. But that's all I have to say until we get to the next one. Thank you. Sorry.
Any additional questions?
So, can you kind of explain the area you're going to plan on doing
Yes.
again?
So this area doesn't show up on the, if you go to the southern eastern side of the city along the Highway 77 corridor, this area here, and then you got that little piece of 8th Street up here. We're doing seven collection basins totaling roughly 31,000 feet. That's the height of a commercial jet airliner, give you an idea of the scale.
What's the magnitude?
The amount in the area is very budgetable. It's very budget friendly. It's a good place to start.
Okay. And so are we planning in the future to do more of these, I take it, or?
Yes, yes. We've got the city divided into 4 quadrants. We have 74 collection basins. This is 7 of the 74.
Okay. So it's going to take some time.
It's going to take some time, and we're going to, this will determine what areas we need to address. Then we've got to go in and address them, the leaky manholes, the broken pipes, coordinate with our commercial partners and make those repairs. Then we move into the next phase.
Okay.
We'll concentrate on getting this area done, then we'll move on to the next round of smoke testing, and that will, and the goal is to get through this next 5 years and tighten up all of our city's gravity sewer. A side benefit of this is when you stop putting all this non-sewer water into the treatment plant, it extends the life of your treatment plant.
Right.
And that's a multi-million-dollar expansion.
I know that stuff's expensive. Yeah. So I just want to make sure we're not trying to do this all at once and then.
No, we can't afford that.
Right. So, okay.
And
thanks.
Mayor, may I speak? Yeah.
Yes.
No, we're not. Just to piggyback off of that, we do have a 5-year plan in terms of infrastructure for the entire city. And that is really our focus right now, is infrastructure for the next 5 years. And that not only is in utilities, it's also in roads and all the other, the piping that goes forward. So I totally agree with you that there should be a progress each year, trying to fix a lot of the infrastructure issues that have probably gone, unattended to for a while because of, a lot of grant money was not available, 10 years ago or 5 years ago, or the city was just not in a position to do some of these things. And so now we are, but we're taking it very small bites at a time. So thank you for asking.
Now, this was a plan that was in place, or this is all based on the warning from FDEP?
This was something we were working towards.
Yes.
During that time,
warning?
yes, absolutely. Yeah, it's not in reaction to.
No.
It's part of what the utility department does to be proactive in stopping these SSOs, trying to get out in front of some of these aging infrastructure items. 1927 sewer lines, 1961 sewer collection system.
Yes,
So,
How long is it going to take, Greg?
good question. A lot depends on weather. You get more bang for your buck if you can smoke test during the driest part of the year. Just like that P-trap, the water stops that smoke from going. You can have the same effect in your gravity system. So a month to do all 7, depending on weather.
Thank you.
All right. Any additional questions?
But we got to make a motion first.
Right.
Any additional questions? All right. Any motion on this from the commission?
Move to approve.
Second.
All right. This time, public commentary.
Answer, Greg. So there's a street it's 17th at Carolina where it goes over the creek and goes up the hill. That at the bottom of by the creek on the west side of the bridge there, commonly when it rains it'll overflow, sewage water will come out of there, or stormwater gets in there. How does this process help you fix that problem? That's what I'm trying to figure out.
I believe the area you're referring to is 12th in Virginia. That along.
17th in Carolina where I live.
Oh, sure. Okay. Gotcha. Yeah, the Carolina area is the lowest part of our gravity system. Okay. When you have non-wastewater entering your sewer system, that takes up the space for the wastewater and it's going to relieve. So by eliminating all this extra sources of stormwater, you eliminate those sanitary sewer overflows. As the chart showed with the spikes in flow from rain, you can easily add 200, 300, 400, 500,000 gallons a day in non-wastewater flow to the wastewater treatment plant. That adds additional electrical costs for your lift stations to pump it. That adds additional chemicals and electrical costs at the wastewater plant to treat that extra water we don't get any revenue for.
All right. Additional questions?
Jody Moore on Amherst Street. Again, to just comment on what Ms. Tender said. You talk about Mr. Finch. You talk about Mr. Forehand.
What does it have? We're
this has to do with the
questions
fact
with
that the project is going to Panhandle Engineering, and the fact is, I was at the hearings too, and Mr. Forehand, according to the lawyer for Mr. Finch, he was going to plead the fifth if he had been called to testify, and he was offered immunity from the prosecution. That was actually stated at that meeting. That's why he did not testify. That's a big difference between someone being indicted who says that they're innocent. So there are two differences there. And I also want to address something that was said earlier. I don't know to whom Mr. Aldridge was referring when he called people crazy.
We're not talking
but
about
as a psychiatric nurse, that is very insulting.
Yeah, we're not addressing past issues when we're having our commentary. All right. Commission, City Manager, you'll call the vote.
Yes. Commissioner Aldridge?
Yes.
Commissioner Perno?
Yes.
Commissioner Ward?
Yes.
Commissioner Tender?
No.
Mayor Nelson?
Yes, motion passed. Agenda item number 10, discussion and possible approval of development order Minnesota Supply House, parcel number 11614-001-000.
Good morning. This is an application for a development order by Minnesota Supply House. The owners are Sugar Sand 50 LLC. The agent is Scott Rutherford, PE, with SCR and Associates. The address of the property is 401 24th Street East, parcel number 11614-001-000. The property size is approximately 2 acres, and the future land use on the property is industrial. This parcel is not in the CRA and it is not in the corridor overlay. There are some existing buildings on the site. The existing uses are a warehouse and an office. The project engineer is Scott Rutherford, and the reviewing engineer was Chris Short. Chris Short is not with us. He can't be with us today. I'm not sure if Scott is in the room, if you have any questions for him.
Is Scott here today?
Yes, he is, sir. Yeah,
Okay.
I just saw him at the back. So if you have any specific questions, he can help. And the attorney can also help with some of this. So the development order request is for a new 9,600 square foot warehouse and a new 1,610 square foot showroom. The owners are unable to meet. I just want to say before I go on to this that they have met everything. They have met all the requirements of stormwater, our ULDC, all the regular reviews have taken place and they meet absolutely everything. There is one thing that they are not able to do, and that is meet our 30-foot landscape buffer depth requirement along the north perimeter, which is 24th Street. And this is because the city currently and has had our utilities running along the north 20 foot of their property. We didn't realize until the survey was done, when they carried out the survey, that our utilities are located on their property. I also want to mention at this point that it only has the 30-foot requirement because it is industrial. You wouldn't know by that property that it was an industrial land use, future land use property. You'd probably assume it was commercial because of where it's situated. You know, oftentimes our industrial properties are located within industrial parks. If it were commercial, it would only have a 10-foot buffer. I just wanted to point that out. And this buffer that they can't meet is the one running along the street. It's not running alongside, adjacent to anybody else's property. So in trying to find a remedy for this situation, the city worked with the owners, and the owners have granted the city an easement so that we can continue to use their property in the way that we have been, but they will only be able to sod that 20 foot and not install landscaping upon that section, because obviously if they have to go in, dig up, get to anything, if there were trees on there, that would make that very difficult. But they will be putting sod and maintaining sod on that 20 feet. And the landscaping will be provided on the innermost 10 feet of the property. This shows the property here in red. This is the property. So currently, this is the building that is there. Well, these two buildings are what are there. This is the area that they have granted us an easement on. This is the site plans, which you can't see very well on the screen here, but you did have it in your packet. And what's being proposed is this additional building here, which will be used for warehousing, and this small building here, which will be a future showroom. This was a survey which shows this area here is clearly on their property, and we have our utilities in there. This is the landscaping that they will be providing. So they're providing the depth of landscaping that is required on the other buffers. There are certain requirements depending upon whether it's on a street or what the adjacent properties have located upon them. So as you can see, they cannot put the trees out here on this 20 feet, but they will be using that innermost 10 feet for trees and shrubs, etc. And this finally is a rendering of the warehouse building that they are proposing to put on the property. Thank you. I did also, want to mention that this did go to the Planning Commission, and it was voted approval unanimously by all 7 members. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for our planning director?
I take it this happens pretty rarely.
It does happen very rarely. I mean, I think this is probably, I've been here 10 years, and I think this is the second time that this has happened. And the first time was also kind of around this area, Minnesota Avenue, and one of the roads that ran off.
Okay, thanks.
I'd just like to make a statement, because as far as I see in that area, that's right next to Kaleidoscope Theater, correct?
Right, yes.
And it's at that 4-way stop corner right there.
Yes, sir.
And for what it is now as compared to what it was, it's already an improvement.
Yes, sir.
And from what I see in the packet and the landscaping package the owners intend to do, it's definitely going to beautify the area. So I just want to express my appreciation for that. So.
Thank you.
Are there any questions for the representative? All right. Is there a motion for this?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right. Motion by Commissioner Ward, second by Commissioner Perno. Any comments from the public? No comments. City Manager, if you'll call the vote.
Commissioner Ward?
Yes.
Commissioner Perno?
Yes.
Commissioner Aldridge?
Yes.
Commissioner Tender?
Yes.
Mayor Nelson?
Yes. Motion passed.
Thank you.
Agenda item number 11, discussion of possible approval for Emerald Coast Regional Council to apply for a competitive Florida partnership grant for approximately $49,200 on behalf of the city.
Good morning. McKaylee Clayton will be presenting this item to the City Commission today. Ms. Clayton is the city's grants manager, and we both have been working on this item together.
Good morning.
Good morning.
The Department of Economic Opportunity has opened applications for the Competitive Florida Partnership Grant, and this will provide opportunities to assist communities with planning for future economic development. The city, along with the assistance of Emerald Coast Regional Planning Council, has identified a suitable project in the form of a strategic economic development plan. This plan would be completed by ECRC and would present strategies to promote economic development and growth for the city for the next 5 years. The study would cost approximately $49,200 and would be funded entirely by the grant. ECRC has offered to apply for the grant on behalf of the city at no cost to the city. So if we are awarded, the grant would completely fund the study. If we are not awarded, we would have no financial obligation to ECRC. We did bring this study before the commission back in March to approve ECRC to apply for the Community Planning Technical Assistance Grant Program. So applying for the Competitive Florida program would simply increase our likelihood that we have the study funded. So we are requesting approval to allow ECRC to apply for the Competitive Florida Grant Program in the amount of $49,200 on behalf of the city.
All right, thank you. Are there any questions for Ms. Michaela?
Move to approve.
Second.
All right, motion by Commissioner Aldridge, second by Commissioner Tender. Any comments from the public? No comments. City Manager, if you call the vote, please. The vote.
Oh, sorry. Commissioner Aldridge?
Yes.
Commissioner Tender?
Yes.
Commissioner Ward?
Yes.
Commissioner Purno?
Yes.
Mayor Nelson?
Yes, motion passed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, and great job on your first presentation to the City Commission. So, good job. Agenda item number 12, discussion and possible approval to extend the period of performance of Tetra Tech Incorporated Public Assistant Consulting Services through October 31, 2022. City Manager.
Yes. And so we have been working with Tetra Tech now for almost 3.5 years. We have a total of about $27 million that we have received in reimbursements, with another $20 million that's been approved, but we are now just in the process of drawing down, and as you will know, that's probably reimbursements for the rebuild. In order to finish out this fiscal year, we're working on several projects. There are probably 8 projects that we're working on. All of them are rebuild projects that we will continue to use Tetra Tech. And really, Tetra Tech is someone who knows the city very, very well. We worked very good with them. They have a lot of knowledge. I don't know if anyone knows the amount of work that goes into getting one reimbursement. Is beyond what you could even think of. The paperwork, the documentation, working with the state, working with FEMA, massive phone calls, massive conference calls. This is a never-ending story until all of your reimbursements are in. And so we're asking today that we go to $149,000, a little bit over $149,000 to help to continue to get the reimbursements for the city.
All right, questions for the City Manager.
So how much longer do we think we're going to need Tetra Tech for? I know you don't have an exact answer, but
I really don't. But, you know, we have these building projects,
right.
And every project now is with the state. It's moved from FEMA to the state. And so now what we're facing, and all of the cities are facing, it's just not us, is that because it's now in the state, they're literally doing another audit all back over again. So that means that, you know, every RFP that we put out, every invoice, all that stuff that's already been looked at by FEMA, it has to go back through Tetra Tech, back through the state again. And so they're doing all the back end work for us while we, you know, they have all of those documents and doing that necessary work so we get our reimbursements faster. So, you know, I would love to say within, you know, 6 months. I just don't think that's reasonable. As you know, I think with Hurricane Katrina, they got their last reimbursement, 2 years ago, somewhere along in there.
Wow.
But I do know that every city here has a consultant, and these consultants know the city well enough to continue the reimbursements to go forward. Someone had asked, why don't you have someone else? That means that it slows down the reimbursements for the city and the residents suffer, because now we got to retrain someone else to come in here, know the city, know where all the documents are, create their own stockpile of documents, all of that stuff. And it is a lot of work. And it is a lot of work for the city as well as for the consultant.
No, I get all that. The only reason I ask is it normal for us to approve it every 6 months, or is it better to have a different mechanism in place so that we can extend it out and approve it for a longer period of time?
Yeah, and that's a very good question, Commissioner Ward. Normally, we would just go on and extend it, say, for a year, but this was part of the mid-year budget, and so we wanted to get that out of the way.
Okay.
And then we'll
so when we do the fiscal year budget,
You're exactly right. You're
Got it.
exactly right.
Thanks.
If I may, City Manager, the $149,806 is an increase to the $2 million, and we've been assured in the past that this is all reimbursable. So as we keep going forward, this is reimbursable, right, by FEMA?
That's exactly right. We have a threshold. We're nearing that threshold, but all of this money, you'll get 50% of any type of administrative cost up front, and then when the project closes, you'll get the rest of that 50% that they set aside. Okay.
All right. Additional questions?
So it's basically 100% covered by FEMA.
Yeah.
Any additional questions? All right. Any additional discussion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right. Motion by Commissioner Ward, second by Commissioner Perno. Any comments from the public? No comments. City Manager, if you call the vote, please.
Commissioner Ward.
Yes.
Commissioner Perno.
Yes.
Commissioner Aldridge.
Yes.
Commissioner Tender.
No.
Mayor Nelson.
Yes. Motion passed. Agenda item number 13, discussion and possible approval for the proposed engineering task order for the Rails to Trails multi-use path for $33,500 to Panhandle Engineering for the inclusion of Phase 1 and 2, bidding and engineering of record services during construction. Mr. Janke?
This item is a follow-up item for the Rails to Trails project. We're getting ready to issue the RFQ for the construction of this project. As part of the RFQ, we would have to make some minor updates to the engineering plans. We need some assistance with the bidding process as well. The engineer of record services during the construction. So this task order would cover these 3 items. At this point, staff would request the approval of this task order as presented.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Janke?
So this is getting all paid by grant money, right?
1/3 of this amount will be eligible for reimbursement by the grant. 2/3 of it would have to be paid by the city.
So about $20,000 or so?
$22,000 would have to be paid by the city,
Okay.
yes.
And I must say this. I know also a few years ago that Panhandle Engineering got a grant for over $400,000 for Rails to Trails. They gave the money to the city, then they started billing the city every month, little by little by little, but I know that they certainly have been paid that over $400,000 at this point, and they're the ones that drew up the plans. What are we changing to give them more money? I mean, they drew up the plans, so what are they changing?
I'm not aware of the $400,000 contract with Panhandle. I do know that Panhandle received $268,000 from DOT in 2015. Please correct me
Yes,
if I'm wrong.
that is correct.
And that money was for for preparing engineering plans for this project. Back in 2015, these plans were made or were created to build all three phases at the same time. A couple of months ago, the City Commission decided to proceed with phase 1 and 2, which is everything south of 390, which means that all of the materials that the needed materials to complete the project would have to be changed for the RFQ process, for the bid process. And that's on a $4.7 million project. That's a substantial undertaking to make the adjustments to the bid documents to reflect the new updated list of materials that is needed for this project. And that's the reason why the city would have to pay the $22,000 and DOT is not covering it.
So Panhandle Engineering is doing the bidding process?
Yes.
So that's what we're paying them that money for? To do the bidding process?
No, if you take a look at the task order that they prepared, the assistance with the bidding process is they would be charging $5,000 for it. It's part of the agenda packet.
Thank you.
Also, just to piggyback off of that too, you're right, they did start the grant. The city approved that grant, $268,000. And then I think in 2017, that's actually when I came in and was the grants manager. That project was finished and it was $268,000 and some change. They did the initial engineering for the rails to trails. If we look at what has changed over in almost 5 years, then you have to update the plans before we can submit those plans. It's just as simple as that. And so that's what we want to do. Again, we want to do things right the first time, make sure that our residents have absolutely the best. And they were surely the engineer of record when I came on board for this project. The commission did vote that they would invest something into this project. I think that was back in 2018. I think it was a little bit over 10% of the project then, may have been about $400,000 has been said. And so this is a very, very small amount that FDOT can see that we are investing back into the project. They're not asking us for the $400,000.
So it's not, so this is a requirement we have to update this since it's been 5 years. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, there are some things that surely have changed in this project. It's like Ben said, now we're just doing phases 1 and 2.
Right.
And so there's no way that you can just do phase 1 and 2 without updating the plans. And you tell me if I'm incorrect.
If I may, Mayor, I'd just like to be assured that the changes we're making are incongruent with the Rails for Trails changes, because they have changed the route from 231 going up along the rails to actually going along the FPL electrical easement. So the rails are going to run north out of our city along potentially. And I think it was approved at our last TPO that they're going to run the trails north to Mariana through the electrical easement, through the power lines that run north. So I just wanted to be assured that whatever we're changing is encompassing that. So, do we know for sure?
I heard about this project, this potential future project. I don't know exactly where they would tie into our existing Rails to Trails project.
See us run the 231 and it'll be jagged or not. I'm sure it'll be cohesive, and we could ask tomorrow at the meeting. So we'll just make sure.
Yes. We will do that.
All right.
We are in constant contact with FDOT. We just had a conference call with them last week, and we'll bring that back to their attention.
Okay, because
Okay.
we approved 3 alternate routes through the city of Panama City. So,
Okay.
and so that's to be determined. So I just wanted to, and it didn't affect our route, but I just wanted to make sure that we're on top of that fact, so.
Okay.
May I speak? Since 2015-16, when this whole thought process started, and now we're securing the property, I mean, we've got that in line. Have we done anything? Have we dug anything? Have we moved anything? Have we actually done anything in regards to rails to trails other than get it all engineered and laid out in our minds? Anything else has not happened, right?
It took us 3 or 4 years to secure the funding for the actual construction of rails to trails. So we submitted an application for to fund the construction portion of it, and we actually had to resubmit it a couple of
We did.
times. And then after 3 or 4 years, we finally got the okay.
That's true. And remember, with all grants, it stipulates in most grants, and I can, just from remembering grant management, if you start a project before the agreement is signed, fully executed, you do not get reimbursed for that money, no matter what it is.
So really, the only money we're paying out of pocket is this 2/3 of what you're requesting.
That is correct.
Okay.
And city manager, I don't know if you remember this or not, but at one point, didn't we have to resubmit because Panhandle Engineering did not submit the paperwork on time? Do you remember that?
I'm going to say it. Resubmit what?
They were supposed to have paperwork submitted for this project a long, long time ago.
Oh, okay.
And it came up that they did not submit the paperwork on time. So we had to kind of go back to square one.
Only thing I remember is that grant, that first grant, engineering grant, was finished on time. And then the second grant there was 2 phases, the construction side of it, and the commission approved it. So I'm not real sure.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Any additional questions for Mrs. Yankee? Or is there a motion for this?
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Aldridge, second by Commissioner Perno. Any discussion from the public? Yes, sir.
Rich Walker. Mrs. Tinder, Commissioner Tinder is correct. You have to go back here. You have to go back, and what I get out of this conversation right now is we're going to take the original $25,000 grant, which was obtained by Mr. Forehand through Panhandle Engineering, and we're throwing that out. It's already been paid. Section 1 was paid. Phase 1, the engineering, was $25,000. As pointed out by Mr. Robitaille, that this is a simple thing that you go on the computer and you punch in a diagram for rails to trails, and it tells you all the engineering you need. That was $25,000. As I understand it, that grant was obtained by Mr. Forehand through Panhandle Engineering, paid for. That was phase 1. So what I get out of what you just discussed here is we're taking phase 1. If I could be incorrect, however, we're taking that money, throwing it away, and you're going to redo everything again and start all over. Because the economy has changed, prices have changed, and everything. So what, if Mrs. Tinder and I observed what went on back then, when none of you were here, except Mrs. Tinder, myself, and it wasn't underneath economic development, it was under engineering, we're out $25,000 as a grant. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Yankee, if you could clarify something for us. I believe we're actually working on phases 2 and 3 here and not phase 1, if I'm understanding.
Okay, so the engineering work by Panhandle Engineering was completed several years ago. They did 100% of that, what they promised they would do. In recent months, we changed the scope of work for this project. So we said, instead of building 100% of this Rails to Trails project, we're just going to build 80% of it, which means that the construction plans change. All of the materials that is needed, all these quantities, all of that will change. And the contractors that will be bidding on this project need these numbers so that they can give us an accurate bid. And that's the reason why we're bringing it back. We essentially decided to change the scope of work, and that's the reason why we have to update the engineering plans and why this costs $22,000.
Thank you. Mr. Scray.
Pat, you were talking about the connection with the FPL stuff. I think that runs along 231 up north to Mariana. So I think our project, from looking at the website and stuff, our project is essentially a trailhead or a point of origin in Lynn Haven to connect to the main line. So it's our little piece or our little leg to get us access to the main trail system. So I think what we do on the north end of our project is less important than what we do on the south end to connect to that main line. So I think when you talk to the TPO or whatever, that might be what you want to talk about, is how is our section going to tie in down there rather than what are we doing up here. So just wanted to point that out.
All right, thank you. Additional commentary? City Manager, if you call the vote, please.
Commissioner Aldridge?
Yes.
Commissioner Perno?
Yes.
Commissioner Tender?
No.
Commissioner Ward?
Yes.
Mayor Nelson?
Yes, motion passed. Agenda item number 14, discussion and possible approval of resolution number 2022-06-381, approving amount to be liened on certain property within the city, to wit 1101 West 19th Street. City Attorney.
Read the time.
Okay.
Yeah.
A resolution of the City of Lynn Haven, Florida, approving the amount of be lien on certain property within the city to with 1101 West 19th Street for cost incurred in the abatement of nuisances upon such property, authorizing the appropriate officers of the city to record the lien and notify interest parties of such lien, and providing an immediately effective date.
Thank you.
Yeah, and this is another nuisance abatement lien. This is not one of the three CRA. This is not CRA related like the ones we did earlier this year. This just came through code enforcement, went through that whole process, was ordered by the magistrate. The work was never done, so the city had to step in and do it. And so now we're, obviously it wasn't paid, so we want to authorize the city to place a lien on that property. And then if that lien is not paid, like I mentioned earlier, later this fall, we can put that on the tax bill as a special assessment as well. So this just authorizes the lien to be placed on that property. So the abatement work's been done, and those were the invoices.
Okay. Any questions for the city attorney?
Only question I have is with the CRA, we approve those three, but whenever the city has to do ones that are not in the CRA, it doesn't have to come to the commission, I take it?
Well, I mean, if we have it in the budget, no, it doesn't have to come to actually go do the abatement. Obviously, the city, goes through code enforcement. City manager signs an order saying, look, you've got 30 days to tear down your house. If you don't do it, we will.
Right.
So as long as we've got money in the budget, it doesn't come back to us. If we don't have the money, obviously we would come back.
So we had to do it with the CRA because the budget.
They had to budget it separately to approve the CRA, because basically in those ones we use CRA funds for the demolitions.
Okay.
The city's going to go collect liens and have to repay the CRA fund. In this one, it was just the use of city funds that we had in our code enforcement budget.
Understood.
Yep.
Additional questions?
Just want to be sure that the homeowner has been.
There have been multiple notices, certified letters, hearings, all that stuff.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Additional questions for city attorney? All right. Is there a motion for this?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Ward, second by Commissioner Perno. Questions from the public? No questions. City Manager, if you call the vote, please.
Commissioner Ward,
Yes.
Commissioner Perno,
Yes.
Commissioner Aldridge,
Yes.
Commissioner Tender,
Yes.
Mayor Nelson.
Yes, motion passed. Agenda item number 15, discussion regarding amending part of the animal ordinance number 1136 to exempt specific rescue activities by pet rescue organizations. Commissioner Tender?
Yes, as I said earlier, I spent a couple hours talking to Kathy and Hector from, I think it's Paws and Claws or Claws and Paws, something like that. A number of years ago, and we discussed this, and they certainly remembered it. We had an issue down under Bailey Bridge where we were finding styrofoam bowls, styrofoam plates, all kinds of stuff that was had potentially could, harm the environment. Anyway, after talking to these folks the other day, Kathy was the lady who was putting them out. They have made a change to feeding these cats. They now put the cat food on a tortilla shell.
Mm-hmm.
So everything is being eaten, which I thought was really, thanks to Commissioner Perno, he has donated a case of tortilla shells, as I understand it, for that project. What they're asking is, first of all, they don't want to be arrested for feeding the cats, but they don't just feed the cats. They're feeding them. They have them give them their vaccines. They're taking them out and getting them adopted. And they've adopted, I think it was 16 cats in the last year from that location. And I understand everybody's concern about having feral cats running around, but at the same time, if these folks are paying and taking them in and having them neutered, at least we know that's one cat. We're not going to have to deal with 30 more cats in the next year or 2 years. And those that are getting adopted out, that's great. And they're getting their vaccinations and whatnot. I would just like to see in that ordinance where feeding the cats, and that does not include rescue. Rescue, there are many of them, 4 or 5, and I think some of them are here as well, that take care and vaccinate and do all these things to these animals and work very hard to get them adopted out.
Ms. Ramona, would you have any comments on that?
In the past, we've had many, many problems with Bailey Bridge as the major dumping ground for cats and feral cats, or cats becoming feral there. And people feeding cats there, and people driving by seeing people feeding cats there and becoming more of a dumping ground. In the past, I have spent night shifts tracking cats there. I've caught 86 cats in one night. Another night, 60-something cats. Other nights, 70-something cats. It's a never-ending battle. Those animals were not fixed. They were not vaccinated. They were sick. They were feral. They were kittens all over the place. There's kittens dying in the rocks. It is nothing but a breeding ground for vermin, wild animals coming through there. We've had coyotes hunting in there. That is a dangerous area, especially for being a park where children are. The cats go where the children are playing. They use the bathroom there. The children can get ringworm, they can get the intestinal parasites. There's a lot of medical bills. Children can go blind from some of the intestinal worms they can get. That's why we put it in the ordinance that not to have feral cat colonies in public areas for the health and well-being of people. We're not excluding feral cat colonies. If you have a feral cat colony, it is acceptable to have it on your private property where you take care of them, vaccinate them, spay and neuter them, stop the overpopulation. it becomes a never-ending problem when they are multiplying. Cats can start multiplying at 4 months of age. They can get pregnant right after giving birth. And it keeps going on and on and on. And they're unlike a dog, where the dog may have a heat cycle maybe twice a year. They keep having babies every 2 months. They breed more than rabbits. And it's never ending, and it just keeps on and on and on. So I really disagree with having feeding stations at public areas. If you're going to be a responsible colony owner, you should have it on your own property and being able to observe your animals there and be able to take care of them and vaccinate them and take care of them when they are sick, instead of pushing it on to the public where unknowingly the children are affected.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any further, and this is just an item for discussion, not for us to vote on necessarily today. Any other discussion? Yes.
Hello. My name is Kathy Casada, and I already know some of you. And I have been, my husband and I, taking care of the bridge cats, as we call them, since 2009. We have trapped all the cats there. There hasn't been a kitten born at the bridge since 2016, when I caught the last breeding female. And overall, at the bridge itself, they didn't get there by themselves. Someone started dumping cats there. And over the years, we have removed 14 kittens from that location and 8 cats that were not feral that were dumped. And all of those, through Paws and Claws, have been adopted. There's only presently 6 cats living at the bridge. None of them are breeding. They're all ear-tipped. They've all been spayed, neutered, and vaccinated. And I know this because I'm there every day, every night. We're there every night, rain, shine, cold, heat, it doesn't matter. We're there taking care of them, making sure that they're not going hungry and they have clean water. And there's, like I said, their numbers have been diminished through the years, through natural causes, through coyotes coming along and eating them. I even had a policeman tell me that he saw a coyote with a cat in his mouth in that area. So I say that rescue groups are not part of the problem, but we are part of the solution. I understand it's a public place, but we are very careful to make sure that we don't interfere with anything. We spray the area for insects before we put down any food so that the cats can eat it before the bugs get to it. So we're not the only rescue group doing work in this area. There's many of them, and we all put our hearts and souls into this work. And I understand there was a buildup of paper cups that accumulated because we had a family tragedy. I simply didn't have the strength to remove them at the time, but I fixed that, and they've all been picked up, and I don't use it in public areas, anything but a tortilla now to put the food down, and the pigeons eat the tortillas after the cats eat the food. So, you know, I understand that this is a serious thing, and we take it very seriously. And Paws and Claws, like I said, we're not the only group here. There's other ladies in the audience right here, 9 Lives.
Thank you.
Rescue group, and
That's your time.
is
Thank
my
you.
time up?
Yes.
Okay. Well, thank you for your consideration.
Thanks. Thank you. Is there any additional, I see her, is there any additional comments from the commission?
Oh, well, yeah, I'd love to hear from Nine Lives as well.
Okay,
But
we are going to hear from the public.
But I would also like to come off what Commissioner Tinder said, and I can't help but feel that these rescue groups are doing a good thing. From what I've read and what I've witnessed from speaking to these people, that there's a lot of compassion for the animals, and they're humanely taking care of the feral population. They're turning it. They're getting adoptions. They're feeding them, yes, but they're getting them vaccinated. They're getting them moved out to other places to be adopted. I feel like it's a service, and it helps humanely control the population. I know that we are, as a city, when we get a feral cat, I mean, we have to euthanize. These people don't have euthanize in mind. They and it takes a little more time, but they go ahead and they treat the population, the colony, and they turn it into something where these cats are they go out and they get forever homes. So I'm a warm-hearted guy. I'm wearing cat socks today, So I fully support what they're doing. I hope we can find a common solution. I know that public land possibly from what we put in our ordinance is off limits for that. But if there's a cat colony there and they could treat it that way, I think we should give it some time to maybe to coexist with what our city's doing. I feel like the method that they're feeding that Miss Kathy mentioned is it's not going to harm the environment. There won't be paper cups on the ground, So I strongly I feel like we can come to a compromise or have a common consensus here and make an amendment to the ordinance where these rescue groups can be under the when people complain they say, okay, someone's down there feeding the cats, but if our animal control knows that they're there and what they're doing, they can say they could explain and educate the citizen at that time. So my feeling is somewhere in the middle we can coexist with each other. So that's my feeling, and I'd love to hear from Nine Lives.
I have something too, Mayor. Just for my own information, I have a cat, so I don't have a problem with cats, okay? And I appreciate people that take time out of their lives to try to help animals and things like that. So I think it's great, your heart where it is. Just for my own knowledge, though, is it not best to let cats hunt rats? I mean, because I don't know the answer to that. I'm not being facetious or anything or smart alecky. But instead of feeding them, would it be better to keep the rodents under control around the bridge by letting the cats hunt the rats and eat those as opposed to feeding them? And that's something you can answer when you come up. I'm just curious. I don't know the answer to it. So that's all I have.
My understanding is they are eating rodents.
Any additional?
Even on a full stomach of cat food?
I want to add this. I have a cat too, and I never liked cats, ever, ever, ever. And we were at Porter Park one day, and this little girl was throwing a kitten about this big down the slide. She'd take it up, throw it down the slide. We saw her do it about 2 times, walked over to her and said, "Why are you doing that to that cat?" She said, "Well, my cat had kittens at home. My mom said to take all these kittens down here and get rid of them. So I'm just throwing them around and maybe some." We took that cat from her. We still have that cat. It's 3 years old, and it's the best cat.
Cats are autonomous. They have their own little quirks and their own,
Any additional comments from the public? Would you lift your microphone up, please? Yes.
My name is Karen Bertrand, 2105 Pentland Road here in Lynn Haven. I have been involved in animal rescue for many, many years. I'm with Nine Lives Kitty Rescue. We handle basically cats from the beach to Callaway. including Lynn Haven. And I'm always kind of surprised that people are wondering about feeding or not feeding cats, when really that shouldn't even be the question or the issue. I feel like if people are not fond of cats and there's an overpopulation of cats, the only way, the only scientific proven way how to handle that and manage it is by trap, neuter, return, TNR. And our organization does that because what happens is when you, let's say you have cats in a public place and you think like you are suggesting, oh, let them handle their own rats, let them do their thing, that does not curb the overpopulation, you know, like we were explained that they can have 3 to 4 times a year kittens, so they will multiply, multiply, multiply. So feeding or not feeding is not going to change that. And that's when a rescue group like ours come in. So we come in, we trap the cats, and in order to trap a cat, we only have a short window. Operation Spay Bay only lets us bring cats in Monday, Tuesdays. Very short window for us to trap them, so we can't really waste our time chasing down cats everywhere. So we want to go to a specific location. We trap about 100 cats every single month. We take them in, they'll get spayed, neutered, vaccinated, return. Any cats, kittens that are friendly that we can turn around, we will take and we will get them adopted out. We've, up to now, to this month, we've already adopted over 150 cats just now, and we had about 600 spayed and neutered. So I feel like that is a true approach to it, you know, and not necessarily the feeding or non-feeding.
In question, feeding is part of trapping, right?
Yes, sir, yes, because like I said, we can't really waste our time the 3 hours on a Sunday night, Monday night that we trap. You know, we need to have a location, and if we go and talk to, and we get community calls, messages, emails all day long. We have over 2,500 followers on social media. We kind of growing as we speak. But when people contact us, we have them feed the cats so we can go trap them. We can be efficient, we get it done. And that's just the way how we feel like it should be handled. So, and when we feed, let's say if they're in a public place and people are not fond of it, like they can get in, you know, in issues. If we are not there to control the population, more cats are just going to come, and by feeding them, we can kind of steer them away. You know, we can start over here and slowly move the feeding station in some inconspicuous area, and nobody would really notice the cats, because if you don't feed them, they will not dissipate in thin air. We all know that. You know, they will still be there, and they will come to the houses. They will go in garbage cans. If you have your picnic in your park, they may even come to you. You know, although generally feral cats kind of stay away. You know, so I feel like that wouldn't really solve the problem in not feeding any cats. So I'm not sure if the limit on public places is the best approach. I'm not sure. I personally feel like rescue groups and maybe even others should still be allowed to feed. Now I understand we don't want to create unsanitary conditions by dumping bags and all that, but if it's a normal, nice stainless steel bowl that's being washed every day, or tortilla, you know, then that's a nice, clean place, and I feel like really that's the way to go. Not to mention, people are not familiar with cats. If you have a cat that always has lived in the wild, it may be easier for it to manage. But if you have a cat colony that has been managed, like the ones under the bridge, if you stop it, they're not going to find food. They will just die because they're not used to it. Yeah. And I do have some documentation. I gave him, this is good information on TNR and why feeding bans don't work. Thank you so much.
Mrs. Gray.
I can appreciate both sides. I appreciate what Ramona shared. I think she has some valid concerns there. I'm also a supporter of 9 Lives. I actually have a cat from them. She's a beautiful little female kitten. She was the third one that we had to go through a couple before we found one that my regular cat or first cat liked. But I think there's some kind of solution in the middle here. And, you know, I hate extra government regulation, so it hurts me to even say this, but I think we could probably find a solution in between the two and compromise it, maybe have some kind of standard procedure that rescues have to be approved by the city to do that, have the sites document it, know what times they're feeding, have procedures for all of that. And then also, I've donated to them for the TNR, where they trap, neuter, or spay and release. But also I'm wondering if maybe we could take it to the next level. We all put these little RFID chips in our animals so when they're scanned, they know who it belongs to. Perhaps we could have these rescues taking not ownership, but responsibility for these cats in these colonies and getting them chipped. So that way, if say Ramona finds one and chips it, she knows it belongs to that colony and where that colony is located and everything like that. So maybe it's time we take it to the next level and say, hey, yeah, we'll let you do this thing that we don't want to do or we can't do, but we have to have some guidelines in place and some procedures in place. You know, because as a donor, I would love to know that the money I paid went to getting one, you know, spayed or neutered and it's released. And then also if that same cat gets picked up somewhere, they know which rescue's taking responsibility for it and which feeding site or colony site that it normally is going to be at. So I would, I guess, ask the commission maybe in regard to this item, if you're going to make any kind of motion, maybe that motion is to build some kind of bridge between animal control and the rescue groups and set up some kind of program in the city to administrate that in a responsible manner. So that's what I have to say.
First off, I'd like to commend and I admire the folks who are passionate about saving these animals. My concern from a park perspective is I don't think we need to create a sanctuary for cats in a park that has predominantly sand where kids and adults run around barefoot because there are no litter boxes out there. Therefore, that beach becomes the litter box. I don't know if you think back 2 or 3 years when I first started here, there was probably 2 or 3 dozen pigeons. Go out there any day and you will see well over 100 pigeons, which creates an additional unsanitary situation for a public park. Again, I personally would love to see these cats adopted, but I'm not sure creating a sanctuary in a public park is the right solution. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Additional comments? Yes, sir.
I'm the other half of my much better half. And I've been supporting her for the last 10 years. We moved to Lynn Haven back when 1989. So we've been here for a while, and we have witnessed a steady growth in this beautiful city, including the cats that we love and we have taken care of. We don't euthanize them. We make them, or we allow them to do their job, which is to keep the population of rodents down. That's one of their functions. So we're there to support them because they are providing a valuable service to this community. And it's been obvious for the last 10 years that we have done an incredible job keeping them alive because they have the right to live. They have God's little creatures as well as we are. And nobody has the right to euthanize them just arbitrarily. So to add another layer of bureaucracy, to have them, have a chip inserted, that is not reasonable because you cannot catch these cats. Once you trap them, then you neuter them or spay them. That's an unrealistic approach. We have very few cats left on the bridge that we service. And eventually, they're all going to disappear. I mean, we've had more than 20, now we're down to 6. But they're still doing a good job, providing a good service to the community by keeping those rodents down. And by the way, they're lovely creatures. I love them. When we come up with our car, they know who we are, and they come out to greet us. These are not ordinary felines. These are part of our community. And I agree with the issue that we need to have a certain amount of maybe SOPs. I retired from the Navy base, so I know what a standard operating procedure is. But to add another layer of bureaucracy for something that is so simple, that we've been doing it for years now without being harassed by the police, which we have been, for something that we mean well, I think we need to put an addendum stating that we have at least the permission, if you would, to feed these cats for the benefit of their community. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. All right, so as a commission, we've dialogued, some heard from our community as well regarding this discussion. Is there any direction that we would like to give city manager or staff as it relates to an amendment for this ordinance?
I'd like an amendment to the ordinance to let the rescue groups operate under a procedure through animal control to whether it can be in the public parks or private or however we want to do it, to let these people exist and take care of the cat population. It does a service for my business, what they're doing over there, and it definitely helps areas that have this issue. It seems like it's a non-issue at Porter Park when it previously was an issue, and for the remaining population that exists, I mean, as the lady mentioned, if it could be in an inconspicuous area or try to pull them away from the park, let an amount of time go by where we possibly can be assess what they're doing and give it a trial period where we can look at this again in like 6 months or so. We made the animal ordinance and then they came to us. I wish I would have spoke or met these people prior to the animal ordinance going into effect. Possibly a trial period where we can do this and let them register with animal control. That's my feeling. So
I would second that motion to do a 6-month trial period, and let's get a few numbers together and see what it looks like to allow the rescue people to continue to do what they're doing.
Okay.
I don't know how we'd word that with the.
I don't know. I'm kind of torn on this because I feel like we're getting two stories here. Feel like we got one story where it's like the population's increasing, and then you get another story where the population's actually decreasing. I don't know the answer. Last thing I want to do is make a decision if it's making, because it's obviously a problem, and the last thing I want to do is make a decision that's going to make the problem worse.
Absolutely.
That's my worry, and I'll be honest with you, I'm not ready to vote on it myself, but I'd rather think about it, do my research, and think about it.
I agree with you, Commissioner Ward. This kind of been sprung on us a little bit here, and both sides have legitimate arguments. Both sides, the city employees and the rescue people have legitimate arguments. But I'd like for us to be able to get some ideas, get the city staff involved, and see what maybe could be done, and then we can chew on it and talk about it and figure it out instead of moving right now.
Right now, they're not allowed to feed at all anywhere in the city. It's what it says, right?
Yes.
So they can't operate. So they won't be able to feed the feral cats or anything as is. So we're still doing a trial. We're going to do the wait and see on what they're doing. When can we revisit this next meeting?
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think staff can get together with Ramona and Ty and report back at our next meeting.
Yes. I think
Can we include the groups?
Here's where I was getting ready to go with that. If you will give the city the opportunity to meet with the organization, Ramona, myself, tie, and then come up with a plan. I'm like Commissioner
don't
Ward.
think we should turn our
Why
backs
would
on these
we
groups.
amend a ordinance and you don't really know what you're amending it to be right at this particular time? So give us that opportunity to get with the organization first and see what is their goal. Is their goal to, once they trap them, take them off our premises and then release them somewhere else, or they come back here? I mean, we have answers to none of those questions right now. And so give us that opportunity to do that before you put a time limit on us to say, okay, bring it back to the next meeting, because I know these people have lives and we have a lot of things going on. We want to make these meetings meaningful. Than just to be meeting to try to get you an answer at the next meeting.
Is there any way we can do something to allow them to keep feeding those 6 cats in the same place every night? I mean, I have a cat. I would hate to think that my poor cat wasn't getting fed. I mean, they're doing it now. I don't want them arrested for feeding a cat.
Arrested twice out of you. I've heard harassment from law enforcement. I got bigger things to do than chase around cats.
Yeah.
Okay? So that's not in my vocabulary at all. The only thing I said, and it came from a citizen, is that they were leaving containers down there and they were littering, and they resolved that issue. But I want to tell you and the other citizen, the police department has more to do than chase cats around.
Awesome.
Okay?
Awesome. I thought it actually read in the ordinance that
Thank
they
you.
would be in super trouble.
So we're going to allow city staff and community agencies to work together and see what they can develop and bring back to us. All right. Thank you all. Meeting adjourned.